Hi, Kevin Coupe here. And, we're all basically sheltering in place, even those of us who are not living in places where it's officially shelter in place. So I thought one of the things that might be fun to do is maybe do some Skype interviews with some folks. And I had a chance to meet a guy named David Dempsey. And Dave was an executive at PepsiCo for like 37 years. And right now, though, he's an entrepreneur. And he and a bunch of other folks have created a company called Hyer, Hyer. And basically, what Hyer does, well, I'm going to let him explain it in detail. But they were kind of ingenious because what they've done is they've figured out some of the how to take some of the revelations of the Uber and the Lyft economy and apply them to the labor forces that work in retail. Really, really interesting. I think you'll really enjoy this interview, and I hope this is just the first of many. Enjoy. So, Dave, welcome to Morning Newsbeat. So, my first question to you is, and this is a brave new world as we're doing these kinds of things by Skype now, but tell me a little bit about Hire. Tell me what was the basic need that you guys identified that led you to start this company?
So, well, first of all, we started Hire about a year and a half ago, after spending a lot of time in corporate America working on transformational type efforts. We could see the emerging of the gig economy, right? And there was so much happening. Think about Uber and Lyft and all these different apps, and they're pretty much targeted toward residential or ride sharing, but nobody was in the commercial space. And so, we saw that, we said, there's a real need for commercial gig, and we need really labor. Labor is the number one challenge, or and especially in this environment and where we're living right now, as the number one opportunity for companies is how to manage that labor pool. And so we built about just a little more than a year and a half ago an app which is really simple, which simply connects companies that need labor to independent workers that are willing to work. And it's that simple. It's a two-sided marketplace.
So, and I want to come back to the current environment because that probably has changed a lot of things in terms of your business model. But even, basically over the last couple of years, as the unemployment rate has gone down, clearly the big need that people had in their stores was for people. So basically, as I understand it, you are connecting companies with people who are willing to work but don't want to be on a regular schedule. I mean, are these the Uber drivers of the retail business, basically?
There's a couple things. One is you mentioned declining or improving employment rates, right? The lowest on record up until this current moment, and at the same time, the record high turnover rates. So the labor market is tough still, even in a good environment. But yeah, so you've got in the gig economy, there's really people that are engaged. Some do it by choice. This is how they want to make a living. They want the flexibility. They want to work on their terms. And you have those. Some are people that I've got a full-time job and I can pick up extra work on a weekend or in the evenings. And then you've got people that they're really not by their choice. They've been downsized. They've been let go. They're looking for work. And this is a great way for them to pick up hours as they go. So it kind of hits a lot of different people.
Are they by nature unskilled jobs? And I don't mean that pejoratively, but are they jobs that do not require training?
The gig economy is pretty broad in its definition. Where we're spending our time right now is largely kind of that entry level, general labor, in that kind of space. People with more unique and different type of skills, there's a market for them. What we're trying to do is connect, which is the majority of the people that are looking for kind of that entry level or just temp labor, general labor for the most part.
So in a retail food store, you're looking for people who are going to stock shelves, maybe carry bags, maybe work the front end if they have that skill set. I mean, that kind of stuff.
Exactly right. And then just, delivery. Delivery is really big. We do delivery. So, and what I might add just a little bit is that our app is a bit of an aggregator, meaning we cover multiple industry, multiple job types. So you can work in a warehouse doing pick and pack. You can do delivery work. We do for companies like edible arrangements and florists. We do general stocking. We've done, Meijer's, one of our biggest account in the Midwest. And so we kind of can run, and we work for, companies that are, kind of in hospitality. catering. There's really a lot of needs that people have. It's the number one need, really.
So you talk about things like delivery. I would think that, I mean, that would require insurance. I mean, so to what extent are these people being vetted? I mean, if I'm going to have them in a car or a truck delivering product to customers, I mean, there's a bit of a risk there, right? You got to pay. You want them to get in an accident. You also want them to represent the brand in the way you want them to represent the brand. You said you're working with Meyer. Are you developing is the idea to develop a kind of a core group of gig employees that would be specific to Meyer? Or is the person working at Meyer today, could they be working at Coupe tomorrow and working at Mariano's, on Thursday?
Yeah. So you hit a couple things. So first, I just want to, so I don't lose it. One is anybody that goes down on the app, on the Hyer app, and downloads it, will go through a background check. So they're fully vetted that way, from the national, from the state, and the county search. Second is that underpinning the gig economy, you see more services. So anybody that's, while they're on a job, has accident insurance and general liability insurance. So they're covered. And if you're in delivery, you've got to do a motor vehicle check as well to make sure that they can do that kind of work. So, we've been fortunate that way. We've got I think a good tasker pool, which is accelerating. What happens and from a tasker, and that's what we call them, if you're a tasker with the app, you have a profile and you're trying to build out your profile. So you might work in multiple industries. So to answer your other part of that question is, yeah, I could work for Meyer today. I could go work and deliver flowers tomorrow. I could go work at another company. Maybe it's a manufacturer that's just looking for someone to, do pick and pack in the warehouse that's being shipped out. I can do that.
It could be working in an Amazon warehouse, for that matter.
It could be
something like that.
Yeah. And so
they're hiring 100,000. They want to hire 100,000 people. I would think they would be in the center of the target.
Yes. There's so much.
But is it work better for you if one of the problems with this is your phone goes off during the middle of an interview? Is it a problem? You talked about different industries. Is it better that way as opposed to working for three different supermarket chains over a period of a week? I mean, are they worried about? I guess they're not going to have access to much proprietary information, but would Meyer be worried about that?
Well, I don't think so. So number one, there is no proprietary information. Number two is I'm amazed. There's depends on the study. McKinsey did something. 68 million gig workers in out there. There's a number of people. And actually, the more people or the more types of jobs there are. So in a market, if you've got a Meyer and maybe there's, other enterprise customers. For example, Pepsi, one of the bottlers in Columbus, is now using it. But the more you have, the bigger the tasker pool becomes. So if I've got a workforce, like if you get into Michigan, there's about 8,000 people that have downloaded the app, done a background check. You can quadruple the workforce that you could reach at any point in time. So it's about scale. And as you scale, then you provide more opportunities for companies when they need people. And that's really what we're doing, is filling those needs that come up.
You talk about 68 million people in the gig economy. There are about to be a lot more, because people who had a full-time job on last week and found out today that they're being laid off, well, if they're smart, on Monday they're part of the gig economy. They're going to just position themselves differently, assuming they can go out of the house. Talk to me a little bit about how the current situation with the coronavirus pandemic has sort of affected your company and your clients. I would imagine, especially on the food side, there's got to be an enormous need for the people that you can provide.
Yeah, there really is. And I think it takes you about 5 minutes on any social channel to see and feel what's going on. People are concerned, they're displaced, they're desperate, they're looking for work, they don't know how to fill the gap. And I know the government's doing the best they can, but in the short term, there is, I don't want to say panic, but there's a big concern, right? So that's very real. We've had, last week alone, there's about 5 or 6 enterprise customers who are calling us to say, let's talk about what you're offering, and how quickly can we start employing this kind of support. What I've seen so far, especially in the retail industry, is you've got this big rush in the stores. Stores were shopped. right? You have everything downstream in the supply chain, filling, backfilling. But now, a lot of what's happening in these stores is what's coming into the back room is sporadic. It's not as consistent and well-tuned that you see in retail outlets. So their needs are really, they need people like, during the day, and then they need them on the second shift, they need them on the third shift. And so we're able to fit those needs, because in this gig or in our tasker pool, there are people that are, willing and wanting to work in the morning, some in the afternoon, some in the evening. So with everything going on, we have about a 95% fill rate. So when a job is posted, 95% of the time people are showing up. And right now, my guess is that's better than the absenteeism rate going on in a lot of companies, given what's happened.
Out of how many people do you have in your tasker pool? You're primarily in the Midwest at this point. In your tasker pool, how many people do you have?
So we've got just that 30,000. So let me just put that in perspective. So we came into the market in January of 2019, literally sat on the campus of Wayne State University and recruited people. Okay. So we had 0 taskers, and we went to 1 to 2. Then through 2019, we met the Meyer folks, who we did a pilot. And then by the end of the year, we had like 14,000 taskers. We've more than doubled at this point, just since the first of the year, the number of people who have downloaded the app. And then about 50 to 55% make it all the way through to a background check, which is really important.
Okay. So, but you wouldn't, the fact that you've doubled the number of taskers, that's not just in the last few weeks as the whole coronavirus thing has hit. That's a more steady growth.
That's right. Steady growth. Yeah. We get about 15 to 1,600 people every week. This is before coronavirus. We expect that to spike. Yeah, it's an awareness. If people knew they had a solution, literally, it doesn't matter what type of account, if they call me today and they had a location, it would take less than 24 hours to be up and running and posting jobs in that market, at least through the Midwest, where we have the density of the workforce. So we want to expand.
So you can, if a retailer calls you, they can be up and running with you in 24 hours?
Yeah, if someone said, I want to go into Columbus, Ohio, I've got a base of taskers that are downloaded. And when we post jobs, we get responses in 30 seconds, and we get 6 to 7 applicants per job. And we can fill a job within 2 hours. That's our actual metrics and run rates. So yes, in that geography where I have people today, we could fill that fast.
Who's making the hiring decision? They are, or you are?
No, they are.
The retailer? They are.
They are. Yeah, 100%. The whole business model and the way we built it is really, it's so simple. It's kind of funny, but the hiring company is the one that actually posts the job through my application, right? And then they bring the independent contractor in, the tasker in.
You're just creating the platform where all these transactions essentially are taking place.
That's right.
Can a retailer actually request people with whom they've had good experiences before? Can they put out a call if John Jones or Mary Smith, they've used them before, can they reach out to those people directly if they want to, or not?
Once we got into the market, we're fairly nimble. Every 2 weeks we have a new release just based on feedback. What we heard was that if I get 10 people through the door and I ask them to do things, there's these 5 I really like. We created in the application a preferred, just like when you favor someone, a little hard on the application, you push it. Now you've got a list of favored because you trust them, they show up on time, they're reliable, all those things. And so they can actually send a task to that group.
So how long, since only a certain percentage of my readership and viewership is in the Midwest, somebody called you from Los Angeles, Seattle, Miami, how long would it take to get up and running? And I would assume that what's going on right now in terms of people being told to shelter in place, that does create problems for you in terms of getting people on the road.
Right. So I think that, in this environment, I think today maybe 2 weeks would be a lead time, maybe 2.5. A couple things would happen. We're doing this today. We're running Facebook campaigns, very targeted. So we would go into a market, and if we had a company that said, hey, we really want to do this, we need help, then we would probably do a Facebook campaign go into the market, recruit taskers, let them know that such and such a company is going to be posting jobs on this date. They would download the app. They have to do a background check. Depending on the state, it could be anywhere from 2 to 10 days, and then they're in the system. And then they can post. So it's about a 2-week turnaround.
I think this is fascinating. The whole idea of having a flexible workforce that you have access to, that's being pre-screened for you. I mean, because let's face it, I mean, retailers have different kinds of needs at different kinds of times of the year. I mean, the pool is going to get deeper and more shallow depending on the times. The labor pool is about to be, I think, a lot deeper for at least for a short period of time. So the idea of having this flexibility, I think, is fascinating, and applying the kind of the Uber Lyft model to it. I think it's ingenious. So my congratulations to you for figuring this out. If people want to reach out to you, give them the name of the address of the website.
Yeah, and then I would just add what our tagline is: reinvent how work gets done, and then you cross out work, reinvent how life gets done. So this solution, I think, is here for the long term. We'll work through the coronavirus, timeframe, but it really has applications, well beyond that. But we can the website is gohire, HYER.com. Gohire.com.
Gohire.com, and I'll make sure that's on the website, on Morning Newsbeat as well. And then if they want to reach out to somebody, is there give me an email address that they should use?
Yeah, I would just, they can go to dave.dempsey, Dempsey, at frictionless, this is a long one, I'm sorry, frictionlessenterprises.com.
Okay, frictionlessenterprises.com. I'll make sure that's in Morning Newsbeat. Yeah. And listen, I got to tell you, that's a great name for an organization, because it seems to me that one of the things that smart retailers are trying to do in terms of dealing with consumers is figuring out ways to eliminate, the friction that often happens in the store. And you're taking it from the other side. You're trying to figure out how to eliminate the friction in terms of the employee experience. So, well, listen, Dave, thank you for spending some time with us on Morning Newsbeat. I appreciate it. And let's catch up again down the road. I'd love to know how things are developing.
Sounds great. Thanks, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.